So I went ahead and bought myself a Titan. As you can see, if you want to see the introductory video I did on it, go ahead and check out the link above on my second channel where I, of course, introduced the truck to all of you. Now, a lot of maintenance needs to get done on our older high mileage Titan. So what we're going to do is, of course, make a video on each one of these items. And what better place to start than the good old-fashioned humble oil change. Buying a used car, regardless of where you buy it from, whether it's a dealership or an individual, it's always good to just go ahead and do a clean slate on all of your maintenance. That means change out all your fluids, check everything that you're supposed to check at every interval, and make sure everything's up to snuff. This, of course, includes doing your oil. So I bought this, the oil looks used, it doesn't look horrible, but I'm going to go ahead and have a nice clean slate, start with an oil change, and then I know that it's fresh and clean as of right now and it's the right weight, and then of course just do your oil changes at the regular interval after that. So let's go ahead and get started with the oil change. We want to make sure that we have a drain pan. You want to make sure that you have enough oil to fill it back up. The 5.6 liter vk56 takes 6.5 quarts to fill back up, so make sure you have that. Also make sure you have the proper oil filter to replace it, and you'll probably want a funnel when you go to fill it back up. Let's go ahead and head under the truck and empty this oil. Now, finding your drain plug should be pretty easy. It's the lowest bolt on the engine. There is a big black piece of metal at the bottom that sits right in front of a big cross member, and there's going to be a bolt on that we're going to want to loosen, and then of course let all of the oil drain. So go ahead and grab your 14mm socket, your ratchet, and your empty drain pan. Make sure it's empty, and get the drain pan underneath, break that bolt loose, and then just carefully pull it out with your fingers and let all of the oil drain. When you pull your drain plug out, make sure that you wipe it down. It's going to have a little brass washer thing. Make sure that's all nice and clean and all of the threads are clean of debris. Once this is nice and clean and you have all of the oil drained out, go ahead and put this back in, but don't go crazy on it. I know that oil change places like to really torque these things down, but it's not good for it. So I think the manual actually says 27 foot-pounds. I'll go ahead and make sure I have the correct foot-pounds right here out of the factory service manual. But just put it back in at a normal torque, and then let's go pull the filter off and then fill it back up with oil. Now, to get to our oil filter, there is a metal plate in the way, and this metal plate's basically just here to protect the bottom side of the engine. But there's looks like there's about 4 bolts we need to take out, and those are 4 10mm bolts, 2 in the rear and 2 in the front. Now, the 2 in the rear, it looks like are slotted, meaning the plate slides into them, so they don't have to be fully taken out, just loosened. Once we take those off, we should be able to get to our oil filter without issue. So now the front 2 are off, so you just got to push the plate forward until those little pins kind of come off there. There we go. And then pull it off the front. Voila. Set that aside, and then go ahead and grab our drain pan. Bring that up here, and you'll see the oil filter is right there. Now, the oil pan doesn't need to be empty for this part because most of the oil has already been emptied. However, some will come out of here. So if we're lucky, we should be able to just twist this off with our hands. Yep, nice and easy. But if you do have a like a quick lube type place to do it, usually they torque the living crud out of these. So you may need to get a oil filter wrench to get this off. So once we broke this loose, we're just going to go ahead and let the oil drain a little bit. There's a little channel here that kind of lets it flow over top of this sway bar. But we're just going to keep loosening it. It'll drain faster. There we go. And then just let that drain for a second to get all that oil out. My patience has ran out. So now that this is mostly drained, just go ahead and slowly back this off. It's got quite a few threads on it. So just kind of, there we go. Slowly back it off and it'll kind of spit out here. And then turn it over and set it in your drain pan. So all we need to do now is just make sure that this surface is nice and clean, and then go ahead and get our new oil filter. But before we put the oil filter on, make sure that the gasket on the oil filter, first of all from the old one is not on here, but on the new one, you want to take some fresh oil and lubricate that as well. So we have our new oil filter, and I'm just going to grab this paper towel, wipe down this surface. You know, you really should use a lint-free towel to avoid any debris getting in there, but I don't know, I like to live dangerously. All right, so I have my new oil filter again. The ring here, the gasket is all nice and lubed up with fresh oil, and you just want to spin it on there. There we go, make sure you're not cross-threading or anything crazy like that. There we go, nice, going on nice and easily. Once it makes contact, just give it a couple good turns, but don't go insane on this. Again, you don't need to get the wrench on here and tighten the living crud out of it. Just put it on nice and easy. No need to go insane. So I'm just gonna wipe this channel down. There we go. Wipe off my sway bar link, kind of clean up my mess a little bit. And that's it. So I'm just gonna grab my oil pan, slide it out here, and then to install our protective cover, just slide it back onto these back bolts in the rear, and then just install the 2 front bolts, and you're all done. After that, all we need to do is go up and fill up all of our oil. Up top, we have our oil filler neck. You can find that right to the left of the engine cover, right here. And then I'm gonna go ahead and use a funnel. It just makes for a cleaner experience. And then we just need to grab the oil of our choice. I went with Valvoline high mileage, full synthetic 10W30. Nissan doesn't really give you very excellent directions, but in the manual, there's 2 pages that talk about the weights of the oil, and I'll just go ahead and put them on the screen right now, so that way you can kind of pause and take a look at them if you want to make your own determination. So again, this takes 6.5 quarts, and this is a 5 quart, so I'm going to put this entire thing in, then put another quart in from another one of these, and then I'm going to check the oil, make sure that it's showing up on the dipstick, and once I feel good about it, we're going to run it for a couple seconds and check it again. Now to check it, you want to grab your oil dipstick, which is to the left of the oil filler neck. Give it a good wipe the first time you pull it out. Put it back in. Let it rest for a moment. Pull it out and see where we are. And we are above the low line. We're actually right in the center of the 2. There's no way that's going to pick that up, but that's all right. We're right about here. And I'm gonna go just a little bit higher till I get to the H, only because, remember, our oil filter is empty right now. So I'm gonna fill it up just a little bit more till we hit the H, then we're gonna turn on the engine, let it run for just a couple seconds, probably about 30 seconds to a minute, and then we'll check it again, make sure we're in between those 2. All right, we're right about at the high mark, we're right about here, and so we're going to go ahead, turn the engine over. Before you do that, make sure you put your oil filler cap back on, and then we'll check it again. All right, that should be enough, especially since the garage door is closed and I'm not looking to die today. So let's go ahead and grab our dipstick again. Again, wipe it, put it back in there. And we are well below the L, so I'm just gonna put a little splash back in here to spruce it up, kind of get it up to where I'm comfortable, and then we'll be done. Excellent, that is right where I wanna be. Our oil filter's been filled back up, and we are right in between the L and the H. Grab this out, cinch it down until it starts to snap a little bit, and we are done. Now that concludes the oil change. Pretty darn easy, right? Now a few quick tips and reminders. First of all, remember, don't cinch these bolts down and the oil filter down like crazy. It does not need to be very tight. Also, as you're draining the oil from the drain plug, you can go ahead and open the oil filler cap, and that'll help it empty out a little bit faster if you're in a hurry. And also, Nissan recommends that you actually run the car until it's up to operating temperature before you do an oil change. I went ahead and did that today, but if you're an absolute beginner at oil changes, go ahead and avoid doing that. mostly because if the oil splashes and you're not set up exactly right, you could absolutely burn yourself. So it's not going to be the end of the world if you have a little bit of used oil in the bottom. That's really just a way of making sure all of the oil gets out before your oil change. So this is the first of many, many videos we're going to create on the Titan. We still have to do, of course, all of the maintenance other than just the oil change. And then we're going to do all kinds of work just to show you guys how to be an absolute pro on working on your Titan. So absolutely make sure that you are subscribed to keep up with the videos on the Titan. If you have any questions at all about this video, be sure to put them down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.